So for now, I'm going to pass it back to Angela and Jonathan, who are now building this the Blue Hill Cooperative Ecovillage, and I would love to hear about where you're at now and how you got there. What's the journey been like, and where have you arrived?
All right. Well, thank you. Thanks for inviting us.
Yeah, thank you. I'm excited to have such a large group of interested folks. It's definitely been quite a journey to get to the point of actually being formed and starting to get into some of the more interesting details. Although I'll say this, preliminarily when we started, oh boy, were we excited, and had probably a good year or so, maybe about a year and a half of meeting folks, having conversations, having regular meetings to just hash out ideas we were dreaming of on paper. And I'm sure many of you have the same ideas going through your head about how can we do this a little better, life on planet Earth. What kind of resources are we supposed to be sharing? This whole land ownership thing, the way we've got it structured now, it sure seems like a rigged system, and we need to break free of this. So having that group of like-minded folks, we were able to kind of get to the point of a core group of us. There were 5 who had enough alignment that we kind of, well, we picked out an area after touring around New England a little, and we ended up looking pretty hard at this area of Blue Hill, Maine. A few things that drew us to this particular place, but you know, the community itself that already existed was one of them. There's a really great school for our daughter who was about to start kindergarten, and it seemed like a really good time to be making this move. So we went ahead and did it. And what we found was a large farm property that we could not afford to buy. We really loved it, and we were able to talk the owners into giving us some time, giving us a lease arrangement with option to purchase. We put a pretty big deposit down on the future purchase just to hold this arrangement. They didn't want to lease this property. They wanted to sell this property. This was an arrangement we kind of finagled just to buy us the necessary time. It's a 125 acre, you know, one of the older farm properties in town. And I learned long ago the really good spots, the really good pieces of land were claimed a long time ago. So some of these old farms are really great places to be. Anyhow, we ended up having a heck of a time off the bat with the 5 adults, and we had kids in the mix too, all in this one big farmhouse, and we were experimenting with the communal living thing, kind of like it or not. Our shared vision, though, was to actually have a little more personal space than that. And we wanted to be able to build our own homes and have our own small homestead plots. So we, on this journey, we were able to really get clear on a lot of the things that we loved about sharing resources and didn't love about it. There's still, I would say, a lifetime of work to be done in that. It's amazing how far the human species has to go maybe with our evolution in this area. So I appreciated your tour there, Thumbs, just because it is cool to see people who are, they're in, you know, all the way. And I think that our own model is tending towards having more of the collection of homesteads that share this large, wonderful property. You know, even if you really love to grow stuff, you're not going to fill 125 acres with anything but a mechanized operation. That certainly wasn't what we were thinking of. Land stewardship was really a big driving common shared core value we had. We all loved agriculture in the hands-on mechanized way. We were all very much seeing that the earth was, it was, you know, unhealthy to the point where it's depleted. It can't just be done sustainably. We actually have to look at restoring this place. We have to look at a more regenerative approach. And so this kind of morphed and grew into more or less our business plan. We knew that we wanted to do something here with community. We knew that it wanted to be agricultural based, a real restorative operation. We met some really good people to turn us on to different ideas, including the 8 forms of capital, this idea that capital is not just money or land, that there are many things. And so this all kind of lent itself well to where we had to go to purchase this property, which was to form an LLC. We have a cooperatively structured LLC, and we were able to essentially take out a business mortgage for the place. And it was very important to us to hold on to the cooperative ownership of the land, seeming to be the most important part of our community ideas. And we had to do a heck of a lot of work, and we had to write a whole lot of documents with the help of lawyers and, you know, folks, accountants, who knew a lot about how the bureaucracy works. And so, you know, one of the differences I noticed as we were going through the process of forming our community and looking at examples of other communities, almost every single one we found was founded by a wealthy benefactor, or some type of gift donation of like, here's this land, here you go to get started. You know, I definitely came from a place of middle class privilege, but not really so much financial as just having a good education and having presence of being like, okay, whatever this challenge is, I'm going to figure it out. And so I was able to chase these things around without a whole lot of dollars in my pockets, and come up with a way to actually, you know, collectively purchase this large property. So anyhow, it's something that at this point in the game, we are now hoping the pandemic is nearly over. We have 8 adult members. That was kind of the number that it grew into to actually get started and form. But we're seeking more, and have had challenges with just not having a whole lot of ability to have people come check us out freely over the last couple of years. We did build a nice outdoor space for that, though, and I'm going to totally +1 the notion of a good kitchen. So we put ours outside for the time being, a big earthen oven. I see Danjo is on this call. Danjo Palaska helped us to do that. He was our guide and mentor for building a big earthen oven. It's the heart of our new outdoor kitchen space. So, looking forward to having more people come. Looking forward to hearing questions from people. Like I said, we're cooperatively structured LLC. That was the you know, basically what we ended up deciding on how to form, rather than a co-op or some sort of a nonprofit entity. Although we love the idea of turning ourselves into a land trust, we're not quite there yet. We're more at the point of, you know, we've got all of our town approvals for what we're doing here, and we're doing our official DOT subdivision entrance road this spring, and getting all of our waterworks in place for permaculture, to be able to actually shape this place up into a great place to grow things.
Thank you. Yeah, that's an incredible journey. I appreciate hearing you have to. I'd love to at some point hear more about these 8 forms of capital and this, how you mustered the money. But in the moment, I'm wondering, Angela, if you have any insights from, like, if you could go back, I don't know how many years you've been on this journey, but if you were able to go back maybe 5 years or when you started this, like, what is a nugget of wisdom you would love to tell your past self who was getting ready to jump into this dream?
Yeah, let's see. So, well, we've been here about a little over 6 years now. And I would tell my past self, I think, to really be aware of just the amount of internal work that is really to be on this path, and not be so overwhelmed with what that might look like. That was really something for an awakening, I think, for us. And it took a considerable amount of time and energy invested in that as well. Yeah.
And you said, I think there's some kids or young people at the property as well, right? Is there some families? And okay.
Go ahead.
Well, I want to know how you've seen, how has the journey been for the, you know, maybe the under 18 members of your community or the associate.
Yes. So right now we just have one 12-year-old girl who's really would love more friends. I think, yeah. So fortunately, we are in a great community, and she's at a great school, so she does have, you know, a lot of close friends nearby. But it would be very much desirable to have some more kids her age. Would be wonderful. Yeah.
I'm going to throw the observation out there that I think that, you know, she very often gets fed up with all the conversation and all of the time that gets spent on this project. However, as she gets older, I'm noticing she's very capable of discerning a lot of things that I wasn't able to at age 12, and is really seeing a lot more of how the world really works and thinking about what do we need to do differently. And that's what I love encouraging. It's so clear to me at this point where we're at now, like to echo what Angela just said, how much work, you know, we all have to do. I see that the future generations are going to take it much further for sure. So anything I can do to help that along seems like the best use of my time.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, it's incredible watching kids grow up in community is a big driver for what brought me to the whole project, because I feel like they're able to look at, they're welcomed into the creative process in a way that a lot of kids just aren't, who, when you're just going to, when you're part of a system, you know, you're not kind of asked your creative input in the same way that is needed when you're doing a community project. I want to open up the space for other people who might have questions. You can either, I would say just go ahead and unmute yourself and ask them if you would like to ask directly. If you don't feel comfortable with that, feel free to put them in the chat. But opening up to what others are wondering about Angela and Jonathan's journey with the Blue Hill Cooperative Ecovillage.
I'd like to ask about, you know, so you have 8 adults and there are how many houses, and how do you conceive of ownership of the houses?
Great question.
Yeah.
So we have at the moment the original farmhouse that we're in here. You can see the vintage wallpaper behind me. And then there are a couple of good outbuildings, but they're not houses. The only other house at the moment is nearly completed, but still under construction. It's a couple other members. It's actually Angela's parents. And we have another couple building starting this spring. So we, at the moment, don't have everybody's dwelling created. We have, at the moment, filed our intentions with the town to do 4 additional structures, you know, houses, and so that's where we're at right now. As far as ownership goes, the house is yours, and so this is a model that thankfully is not brand new. The land is owned in common, but the structures are owned by the individual who builds them. One of the first things we did on the bureaucracy side was find out who was the tax collector for our area and ask him about this, figuring this was a detail to try and make sure our local folks understood before we went too far. He said, no problem, this is something that they can certainly do.
So does that mean that the, thanks for your sharing, really appreciate it. Does it mean that the land that's under each house is owned in common as
Yes,
well,
it
or
is.
is it a small plot?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
it is. Basically, how we have it worked out now is each member can have basically it's a 99-year lease agreement.
Okay.
On a 2-acre.
On a 2-acre, right, on a 2-acre
Plot
lot
of
of land. Yeah.
Cool. I'm also curious about the subdivision road? Like, how has it been working with the town, and what is this road gonna be like, and what's
The road
water?
is mostly existing. So you have to have, for the DOT to be happy with you, you have to have the right kind of entrance for the type of traffic that's expected to utilize the property. In this case, subdivision. And in fact, the state of Maine takes one look at this project and says subdivision. Quick tidbit while we're on the topic, the moment you cross 9 and go to 10 residences in your subdivision, 10 plots or more, you now are subjected to federal regulation as well. So it's just something to be aware of. Being under 10 keeps you only on the state of Maine's radar, and that's a little easier. The
Interesting.
road is essentially, we have an existing, I'll call it a logging road that accesses the property pretty well. It's a nice logging road. And it's going to get tied into the street at an existing entrance cut. We were lucky the property is big enough to have 4 large entrances that were already picked out. This is one of them. So we're just going to go ahead and connect that to this logging road, improve the logging road, and voila, we have a subdivision road.
And will you need to improve this logging road to be like a main road, or is there a smaller version?
I want it to be plowable year round, but it's our choice, I think. There's certain requirements for the entrance, and if you want to do it right, you'll make your whole road big enough for emergency vehicle access and turn around and all of that. I don't believe that our particular town holds you to any rules with that, but other municipalities might. So check your local ordinances.
Yeah, cool.
I'm curious. I'm Kim, not Craig. I'm curious about the issue of like recruiting or bringing new people in, and how much you have a value statement, like how much you're looking for people in synergy, and how much you're open to diversity and dissonance, and then the things, you know, that were just talked about like having to change because new people have new ideas.
Yeah, that's a great question. We have, I know Jonathan mentioned it's kind of with the pandemic slowed things down a little bit, but in truth, we were really needing to slow things down anyways for our own, I think, sanity's sake. We haven't finalized our trial membership process, and we're pretty close to finalizing. I think we have like our shared, what is that? Our shared core values and things of that nature before bringing new people into the mix. And just honestly, we had, after all of the process for the financing, the business plan creating, the subdivision piece, like we were really feeling pretty burnt out and needing a break. And then trying to balance like, okay, what putting the energy that we're putting towards the group as opposed to what energy are we putting towards our family and what we want to create for our family here as well. So I think we're just now kind of coming out of that space and ready to start welcoming and, you know, opening up to having, really, I think it's just going to start with kind of like visitors coming, and we get a lot of interest, I would say, throughout the last couple of years, on average, like 2 or 3 inquiries a week. A lot of people from the West Coast. I call them like climate refugees a lot. Like when the fires are burning out there, there's lots of calls and contacts coming in. And I'm trying to think what else is, yeah.
The new membership process is definitely something that, yeah, we've had a lot of discussion. We've looked at what other communities have done, and we have a pretty good idea of how we'd like to do it, but the pandemic did just stall us out a bit, and as Ange pointed out, we kind of needed a little break there anyway. It is time to pick it up again, though. I'll say this, there was a really great, I think it was Dancing Rabbit has a really great trial membership process. So some of their information was maybe the biggest inspiration for us. just wanting everybody to spend enough time, first of all, it should maybe be 6 months to a year to really get to know people, but also to make sure that they really have thought through fully of the aspects of life. I think Dancing Rabbit asks it with a question about how do you intend to meet your physical, financial, mental, and spiritual needs at our community. It's a type of thing that oftentimes in the past, I don't know if I thought about all of that. But, yeah, I definitely see the value coming through the process of forming that, like, oh boy, you really do need to think through all that stuff very carefully. What are you looking for in this experience?
And one other thing I wanted to add on to speak to, I think part of your question was new people coming in with new ideas. This has been a bit of a challenge area for us. Jonathan and I have really kind of been guiding a big part of this process. And in doing so unconsciously or however it's created, I think a lot of the newer members tend to look to us as in this leadership role. So I've been really conscientious and mindful about trying to shift that around. And we're hoping to do a group training actually with Diane Christian in sociocracy, which to help sort of, create more of this level round table, as opposed to everybody kind of seems to almost instinctually move to try to create whatever suggestion Jonathan and I might make. So that's been a little bit of a tricky piece that we're really trying to shift around now.
Yeah, so we really do feel that the dynamic governance or sociocracy method is probably the best way to go. And all those great quotes you had from Diane Leaf Christensen there, thumbs at the end of your presentation. And yes, it's just reminding me that we've been in contact with her. She's fantastic, and she's teaching classes all the time. So I highly recommend getting involved with that. I kind of wish that we had done this a few years ago, but the timing is really right now because we want to open it up to all the ideas of our members coming in.
I'm wondering if you have a communal business where you were ranking on that. I know farming is part of what you're doing, and I've seen posts about artistic craft, but I wasn't sure where the communal income conversation is at.
We don't have a communal business per se. The way our business structure works is basically our income for the business, and though we're the Blue Hill Cooperative Ecovillage, our LLC is called the Farming Artist Llc. And so the Farming Artist LLC basically holds the land, and all the business aspects as of right now are through that. And so the income are right now the lease payments that each of the members make. Is kind of what floats the business and runs all the various aspects of the business. And that money comes from off-farm, off-site income sources. We do have a vision to have more of cooperative businesses running here, but we just haven't really got to that part yet. Looking for more people to join us, I think, before I see much growing in that way.
Like so many people, I think we're just running into the challenges of how can you pursue your passion and make enough money to actually, pay all the bills. And it is the case that the route we went to form, where we are kind of bootstrapping it, it did require for sure offsite income. Dabbling in farming is something we have tried here and very quickly came to the conclusion, as I kind of suspected, it's just not going to be feasible to do a startup that can get that kind of income going in farming. it may be possible for some, but yeah, it didn't seem like we had quite the right combination for that. And other businesses, boy, we are open to all kinds of various, land-based businesses happening here. It seems like there could be quite a bit, but haven't quite had the right mix. Some of our members have, since we don't have a house and a place for everybody just yet, they are not living, not everybody is here full time. That makes a little bit of a difference too. But yeah, we'll have to see how the future shapes up with that one.
Taking all the free form questions, you rolled very smoothly with all the different tangents that were thrown at you. We're shifting close to the end of our time now, and maybe we'll break back out into small groups. Cameron, if you're up for doing 3-person groups, people can reflect on how their time went tonight, and just share about what they're walking away with, and how it could have gone better for them, and what they liked, and just to do that in small groups so we can integrate our time together, and just randomly assign those when you can, Cameron. And before we go, I just want to acknowledge again, thank you so much, Angela and Jonathan, for taking the time to share your project. You've obviously put so much heart and soul into it, so to bring it back out into the world is going to help foster a lot more projects. So
thank you so much. Yeah, I really appreciate the work that you're doing here to bring everybody together. Definitely much needed and much appreciated.
Absolutely, ditto to that.